I'm going to be doing two things in this video. The biggest reason for this video is that I just want to demonstrate the Graco Ultimate QuickShot. This is the airless sprayer that I have been raving about for months. A little bit of backstory on this. This came out, I don't know, 6 months ago or so here in the United States. Probably not even that long. But I went to a Sherwin-Williams store where Graco is there demoing these, and I used it for, I don't know, 3 minutes, and I ordered one on the spot. I've had the opportunity to use this on multiple projects since I got it, but one really big project, and that is the built-in that I just finished, where I sprayed the Sherwin-Williams urethane trim enamel, and I sprayed everything in place, and I was extremely, extremely happy with the results. Now the other purpose of this video, and that's to get my initial impressions on a new paint that Sherwin-Williams, and I'm not associated with Graco or Sherwin-Williams, they're just the two things that I use. But they recently released a new paint called the Gallery series, and this paint is designed specifically for cabinetry or trim work, millwork, whatever, and it is able to be applied directly to bare wood without any primer. So I'm very interested to see what my initial impressions of this paint are that I'm going to be spraying for the first time in front of all you guys, but I have a very good feeling about this. Now with the gun, I'm just going to do a lot of the basic stuff, right? I'm going to show you how you go ahead and fill up the gun, how you prime it, how you adjust your pressure and everything to get a nice good coat of coverage when you're spraying. And then I'm also going to walk you through how to clean it just to show you how easy it is. That's my biggest love for airless spray systems, is how easy they are to clean. Let's talk about the gun. So it's got a hose that leads into it. It's about 6 feet long, which is more than enough. You're going to see I'm going to be holding the sprayer in one hand and holding this in the other hand. It also comes with a belt clip. But what's really interesting about this spray system is this, the gun itself. It has an electronic trigger in it, and it performs absolutely flawlessly, my experience so far. This is the trigger lock, so you can lock and unlock the trigger when you're ready to spray and when you're not spraying. Right here we have a dial that changes the pressure settings. And then we have the tip itself, which is right here. This is actually in the spray position with the point moving forward. And if I wanted to do the priming, which you're also going to see, it'd be point facing backward. And then also you have this hook right here, and that can just be hung from your belt loop when needed. Now a quick view for the top. We got a little vent hole here. This will actually be open when we are painting. Other than that, you can close it just to stop any air from getting in there. But if we unscrew this, I want you to see down in the bottom, we've got that built-in filter right there, which you can actually take out. Makes it very easy to clean. And I believe that they do have a couple of different filters for different circumstances, but this is what we're going to be using. I am going to load this thing up with some paint real quick, but I'm using a strainer. Even though it has the strainer built into it, I find that why not use a strainer that costs 50 cents to use. And that should be more than enough for what I need for the purposes of this video. I'm about to walk you through the steps of how to do this, but Graco does a really good job with these quick guides. So this can actually walk you through how to clean it, how to get your spray pattern, pretty much everything if you're storing it for a long time. So this is great. We're going to go ahead and make sure that this is ready and primed. So we've got our battery in. We know we have power. I want to ensure that my knob is in the prime position. This is to prime the pump, the arrow pointed upward. And then this tab in the top, we want to make sure that that is open. Next, I'm going to make sure that my tip is pointed back towards me, and I'm going to pump the pressure up all the way to 10, and I'm going to squeeze the trigger and hold it down for 10 seconds. Put it on the spray position, twist my tip, and at this point, I actually like to bring down the speed a little bit just because I don't want it flying back at me. And you can hear a very drastic difference in the system. So I'm laying down paint now. Before I mentioned I'm using a 210 tip. So I'll briefly explain what that means. So it's a fine finish, low pressure. So it doesn't require as much pressure to spray the paint. That also is going to help a lot with overspray or minimizing it. But there's two numbers you need to be aware of in the 210. The first is the 2. And basically that first number, if you multiply that by 2 on any tip, that's going to be the width of your fan at 12 inches away from the material. So in this case, if I'm 12 inches away, it should give me a 4-inch spray fan. The second number, the 10, is the orifice size. That is the part that regulates how much paint comes out of the gun. So if you had a 312, you'd have a 6-inch pattern at 12 inches, and you'd be getting more paint that's coming out of the gun because the orifice is larger. That's a crash course. Now let's do some examples of the spray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first turn this down all the way to 1, so you can not only hear how the gun sounds, but also see what happens with the fan pattern. So we'll start right over here. As you'll see up here at the top, we have way too little pressure. It's not even enough pressure to get the paint to shoot properly, but we do have about a 4-inch wide fan pattern, and then as we went down, it's just not enough pressure, and it's giving that stream. So now what I want to do is I want to turn it up to a 10 so you can see the difference. Now that's the extreme side of the pressure. So when you're trying to dial in your settings, it's going to depend on a couple of things. It's not just what's the best pressure setting for the paint. It also has to do with, in my opinion, it has to do with how fast you're moving the gun. I would not like moving the gun that fast. I would like moving the gun, but also making sure that I get plenty of paint that is coming out. Now I'm going to put this down to a 6, and we're going to see where we're at. To me, that is almost perfect. I'm going to go down to a 5.5. And now what I'm looking for here is I want to see if too much paint is coming out. And I think it's pretty good, but just out of curiosity, I want to do a 4. I think 5 is the sweet spot. What we don't want in this situation, one, we don't want something like this, right? We know clearly that's not enough pressure, but you saw every other one was just absolutely perfect in terms of consistency. But what we don't need is we don't need these little spurts that are coming out on the side to be so dramatic. If you look at these ones here, it's a very even pattern that comes off of each one of these spray patterns. And that's what I'm looking for. You know, I don't want a ton of blowback. I want to make sure that I'm not getting any inconsistencies, and that if I do the overlap, it's going to look right. It's a clean spray all the way from the top to bottom. We're over at my assembly table. As you can see, I've already sprayed the first panel. You might be able to see it on screen right now, but I will show you that in just a moment. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray this, and I've just got a Lazy Susan set up, and typically, you know, I don't have a problem spraying inside of my shop, mainly with an airless system, because you can really fine tune it to minimize the amount of overspray that you get. And that's what we've done here. So let's go ahead and get some paint down on this panel. And then after about 45 minutes or so, we can come out here and look at it, sand it, and apply another coat. Now, my initial reaction is very positive. It laid down really nice, and it's fresh, so it's still starting to settle, but it already looks different from right after I initially sprayed it. But it sprays very, very well. They say that this takes 30 minutes to dry to the touch, 45 minutes for it to be ready to be sanded and recoated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry, come back out, hit it with 320, get it all the dust and everything off, clean it off, and we'll go ahead and get a second coat on. And I'm probably only going to do 2 coats. It does recommend to do 3, but for these shelves and the purposes of this video, we'll probably just do 2 and see what kind of results we get. All right, so this has been drying for quite some time, and it's actually not still totally dry right there. But the other one is dry. But I wanted to show you this, and I got to say, I am thoroughly impressed with just how nicely this paint laid down. I mean, I definitely would say that this is probably a sustain moving forward. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to sand with 320, and if you listen, you'll still hear there's a little bit of roughness. Even though I sanded this panel up to 220, after putting the paint on, there's a little bit of little nibs and stuff. So I'm just going to basically smooth all of that out, and we'll apply a second coat. And just to highlight something really quick, because it's a good opportunity to cover this, and that's I'm not putting a bunch of pressure on this. I mean, I'm still on the painter's triangles, and I don't want this thing to slide around. All I'm doing is breaking up that surface. So I'm really just letting the weight of the sanding pad do the work. And now I can go back and feel it, and it's a very, very noticeable difference. So very smooth now. And now obviously the important step of cleaning all of that off. Now for this step, I'm going to take kind of a two-pronged approach. And one is I'm going to get as much off as I can with this microfiber cloth. And you're going to see here in just a minute just how much was on there. So nice and dirty. And then I'm going to take a tack cloth. And I know some people have mixed feelings about tack cloth, but to me, I think it's a great product, especially for stuff like this. And you can get the ones that don't leave any waxy residue, but it does a really good job getting off any remaining dust. Okay, it's the following day. I let this sit overnight, did the same exact thing with all of the stuff. I did only 2 coats, and I sanded with 320 in between the first and the second coat. And I have to say that I am really, really, really happy and impressed with the quality that I got on this paint and that sprayer. It's always difficult to try to find a really good angle to show, but hopefully you guys can see this on the camera. I am just thoroughly impressed. I can still see the grain come through. I think if I did a 3rd coat, which is what they recommend, it'd fill that in if that's something that you guys are interested in, or you could prime it, but the paint doesn't require any primer. So it's only going to be as good as the prep work that you do on how well the paint, especially on a dark color like this. But holy cow. I mean, it is just so smooth. Looks absolutely fantastic. Now I want to go over how easy it is to clean this system. And this is what I absolutely love about airless sprayers. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this is on prime. That'll relieve any pressure that's in the system. And I'm going to take off the lid. And I already know that this is practically empty just because I knew I was running out of paint on my last one. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this filter that is in here, and I'm going to set this off to the side in just a pail of water, which you'll see in just a moment. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this up about halfway with water, maybe not quite. I'm going to put the lid back on. This is not something that it tells you to do, but I found that it works pretty good, as I like to shake this up a little bit just to get some water up on the walls where some of the paint is left. So I'm in the prime position. I'm going to open up my cap at the top. I'm going to make sure that my gun is set to 10, so the higher speed. Then what I'm going to do is make sure that my the tip is in the unclogged position, so not the spray position, but the unclogged position. And I'm going to point this in the bucket, and I'm going to squeeze that trigger for 10 to 15 seconds. What that's doing is that is getting all of the extra paint that's in the line out of the line itself. So it's starting to flush all of that. Now, if you want, you can do that step back into the bucket. I just know it's a very small amount of paint because this is only a 6-foot hose and it's very small. I'm not too concerned about it. I'm also going to turn the gun itself to the spray position. And I still want to leave this actually in the unclogged position. It's just going to allow more material to come out. What I'll do now is I'll spray it on this side. You'll see that at this point, the only thing that's coming out is water. It's just colored water because paint has mixed with it. Now, what I would do here is I would just drain the entire thing, and then I'm going to fill it one more time, and I'm going to follow the same steps just to make sure I've got everything out of it. The only thing left to do now is clean the components, and this part is crazy easy. This is just, I think Microjig makes this little bucket here. It's really good for cleaning saw blades, but also great for cleaning small parts and stuff like this. Just throw it in the water or whatever cleaning solution. This is a water-based top coat, so I don't really need anything other than water, which is nice. And it should come nice and clean. So from here, we just take the tip out. Now we have the nozzle. And then the only other thing left to take out is the cup, which I like to do this over it because you are going to get some drips that come out. So the gun is fully disassembled in this state right here, just taking off the tip. And then we've got the cup. You can see that there is still a little bit of paint and stuff in here, but it's coming off no problem. This kit does come with one of these bristle brushes, but because it's water-based, it cleans up super easily. It doesn't even take much effort at all. A couple of minutes, a little bit of scraping, and it's clean. So that's good. Let's set that off to the side. Lid's good. Set that off to the side. For the tip, I really want to make sure that I get all the paint out of the front here, as well as the back, which is the clog cleaning setting. But just getting all the paint off this. Now the nozzle is usually the thing that takes the longest just because it's the spot that has the most paint built up on it. But something that I want to highlight while I'm cleaning this is I let this sit overnight. And I did that on purpose because I wanted to show you how easy it still is to clean even after 24 hours. I mean, it's sealed, so you don't really have to worry about air getting into it. The only thing you have to worry about is this paint on the exterior portion that dries, which, to be quite honest with you, doesn't really affect your spraying in the future. So, you can clean it as good as you want, or the key points here are the interior portion needs to be really, really clean. One last thing I'm going to do to the actual unit itself is just take a towel. Now, typically I do this all inside at my sink just because it makes it a little bit easier. But for the video, I wanted to make sure I had good lighting and good angles to show you everything. But I'm just drying this out. Now, there is one other thing that you can do, and that would be putting some pump armor in the gun, which is recommended if you're going to leave it sitting for a long period of time without using it. And so what I would do in this scenario would be assemble everything back together, pour some pump armor in, run it through the system real quick, and then just put it away. In this video, you saw me using paint. That's all I've used in this system. But hands down, the most common question that I've gotten ever since raving about this thing, because I'm so impressed with it, is can it shoot clear coats? And the answer is yes. It's just an airless sprayer. It's a different method of applying the finish. The thing that will change would be the pressure setting on the gun, as well as the type of tip or the tip size that you're using. Other than that, absolutely, it can be used for anything. I myself have not used it for anything other than paint, but in the future I intend to, and I'll be sure to let everybody know what I think then. Now, this is by no means a inexpensive entry-level gun system. I mean, it's just not. It's not a Graco DSP. It's not a HomeRite. It is not a Rockler sprayer. It is not an Earl-X, right? You're not going to get this for a couple $100s. I paid $1,250 for this system. And what I will tell you is I think it is absolutely worth that. And I don't regret purchasing at all. For me, I'm looking for a system that can make it easier and more enjoyable while also giving me better results. This system right here absolutely does that. Now, I'd like to make it clear that I am in no way, shape, or form an expert on anything spray related. I'm just not. I've used multiple different styles. I've had good success and I've had bad success. What I'm looking for is something that is going to allow me to work faster, it's going to give me better results, and it's going to be more enjoyable to use. And this right here has done that exactly the way I wanted it to. I know there's probably some experts out there that are watching this video and have way more experience with finishes, and they're looking at the video and they're saying that that finish looks like crap. Well, I'm telling you that that is not my experience. I'm looking at what is possibly the best finish results from spraying paint that I have had, and I only did 2 coats knowing that I could get an even better result if I did a 3rd coat, or maybe primed it, or took a little bit more time focusing on the prep work on these shelves. So for those that, you know, are using super high-end spray systems and really, really expensive coatings, you know, maybe this gun isn't for you, and that's not the target audience for this video. I think that most people are like me and are working in a garage and have the occasional thing that they need to paint, and they really want good results that are much more predictable and less prone to issues. And my experience with this system has been that to a T. And one last thing I will say about the Gallery Series paint, I would say that if I'm going to be spraying cabinets moving forward, until I find something different that I like, I really like Sherwin-Williams products. I have one very close to my house. I have a great relationship with them. So it just makes it easy. And I mean, for any cabinets that I'm going to be spraying moving forward, I will spend the additional money and I will get that paint, because what I'm seeing right now is very, very good. And I would be happy to have this inside of my home. If you guys want to get one of these for yourself, I will leave a link down in the video description. Otherwise, see you in the next video.